Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Today we will be presenting about our findings on the survey about information seeking on COVID. So our group members, me, Amira binti Abdul Razak, Nurul Ainul Mardiah binti Rosli, Muaz Hawari, Mahan Syah, and Sekar Shifat Ramadan. So I will be presenting about introduction and part 1 for demographic information from the findings. Okay, next slide. Okay, as we know that COVID-19 is a new virus that hit us for about 1 year ago, and it hit all over the world until December 21st of December 2020. There were 77,306,429 cases were recorded, and in Malaysia until 23rd December of 2020, there were 80,014 cases were reported in Malaysia. So, this has shown a huge number of cases, even though it hit us maybe around 1 year ago, just 1 year ago. And then we decided to conducted a survey about information seeking on COVID-19 and well-being among IIUM students, because we feel that IIUM students also the one who affected with this virus. And for our survey, we managed to collect 53 respondents, which from IIUM students as a whole. And for our survey from year 3, 24.5% from year 4, and 24.5%. For Kuliah of Study, we found out that 18.9% of the students from Human Science Department, 17 from IRK, Islamic River Knowledge, 1.9% from KAED, KICT, 17%, 3.8% from psychology, and others were from KLM, communication, econs, and etc. So for the gender, we found out that our respondents came from 71.7%. Majority of them were female, and 28.3% were male. Next slide. For home country, we identified that 24.5%, which is majority of them are from Malaysia and Indonesia, which stated a percentage of 24.5%, 11.3% from China, 1.9% from Timor-Leste. The last slide for part 1 is medical history. Okay, we found out that majority of the respondents for our survey has no serious illness, which is 86.8% have a good body health, and 3.8% of them have diagnosed with autoimmune disease. 1.9% of them diagnosed with respiratory illness, and others were diagnosed with type 2 diabetes mellitus, high blood pressure, love chronic, and asthma. I think that's all for me. Next.
So for part 2, I will be a presenter. So from here, we can see data from the IIUM respondent. We can see the media platform that who acquire the highest number of IIUM respondent to obtain the news is a new website and Instagram application, while the media platform that who rarely used by IIUM respondent to get the news is Reddit app, YouTube apps, and WhatsApp application. Next slide. Okay, for the next slide is the data for the news consumption by IIUM respondent. So we can see here the majority of people strongly agree that they read the COVID-19 news. They want to know more about the COVID-19. They check the news cases report daily. And this news consumption improved their understanding about the pandemic. And overall, news consumption has changed compared to before. While most of them also slightly agree that they listen to Ministry of Health conference. In conclusion, there are huge difference in how IIUM responded, consumes news before and after COVID-19. So part 3 is about the news consumption and about IIUM respondent well-being. So how their well-being during this COVID-19 and how does the news consumption impact their well-being. So from the 9.1, we can see the majority of people slightly agree that they want to keep be informed about COVID-19 so that they will feel in control. And the next 9.2, we can see majority of people agree that checking the news often make their feel anxious. And 9.3, most of them slightly agree that they limit themselves watching a COVID-19 news on mass media, and also watching a COVID-19 news on social media. Next is majority of people put a limit in their news consumption to help them to reduce their stress. Furthermore, many of them slightly agree that they feel disturbed by the spread of COVID-19, and 22.6% of them become scared that COVID-19 might affect their family and friends. But most of them, I'm sorry, for 9.7, most of them feel scared that COVID-19 might affect their relatives and friends. Then, most of them also disagree that they put themselves be a lonely person. And also, they disagree that they lack of exercise and become unhealthy and tend to overreacting. So in conclusion, the COVID-19 cases does impact IUM strength. That's all from me.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Mahan Xiao. Now, I will presenting the part 4 about our survey. For this part, we given the questions is surrounding the importance of COVID-19 information. For result, we got the 33 students with almost 62.3% agreed COVID-19 information is very important. And 34 students with 64.2% agreed right ways to maintain physical activities during the COVID-19 outbreak is very important. And we got only two students thought that information about COVID-19 was not important, and only one student thought that proper diet and enhanced immunity were not important. Then, in general, uh, for our survey result, we got information about COVID-19 is considered important by students. In particular, information on how to protect themselves and their families from COVID-19 was considered very important by 60.4% of the students. Then next slide. Part 5.
is a broad source of COVID-19 information. We given some source of COVID-19 information is broadcast medium, TV, print newspapers, social media account of official health organizations, social media accounts of official news media, general social media accounts, instant messaging applications like WhatsApp, people surrounding you, healthcare professionals, broadcast medium, radio, and online newspaper. Mm, for this part, we got next slide. For this part, we got the highest and the lowest results.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Moving forward to the next section. This section displays the result on a bar graph showing the number and percentage of undergraduate students in Malaysia who have difficulty in finding COVID-19 information. So in this part, we give a questionnaire to the respondent with this following question. Following question regarding the kind of obstacle for seeking COVID-19 information, such as the spread of false information, spread of rumors, massive information about the disease, time limitedness, contradicting information sources, late in receiving new information, difficult to understand the scientific content, shared information seems psychologically distressing, and etc. So in general, 44 students with a percentage of 83% became the highest percentage of students who face obstacles in finding COVID-19 information. Meanwhile, only 9 students with a percentage of 17% found no obstacle at all in finding or seeking COVID-19 information. So then, what kind of challenges do respondents most often face in seeking information about COVID-19? Based on the result we get, most respondents agree that the spread of false information become the most frequent obstacle faced by the respondent for seeking COVID-19 information. Here, 23 students with almost 44% felt that the challenge in finding COVID-19 information was due to the spread of false information. Meanwhile, only 2 students with 3.8% disagree that the spread of false information as a barrier to getting COVID-19 information. The list numbers show that only 15 students with under 29% somewhat agree or disagree with being late in receiving new information as their obstacle to receiving COVID-19 information. In conclusion, only 15 students feel the late in receiving new information as an obstacle. Moving forward to the next part, which is generalized anxiety disorder. So when the COVID-19 pandemic occurs, we are faced with various anxiety disorder, right? Or things that make us uncomfortable to carry out our daily activities. So here are a few things about the types of anxiety that we asked to the respondent that may be faced during the pandemic, such as feeling nervous, not being able to stop or control worrying too much about different things, trouble relaxing, being so restless that it's hard to sit still, feeling afraid as if something awful might happen, feeling nervous, feeling anxious, having difficulty in sleeping, and having problem in eating. So in general, the results showed 44 students with an average of 83% agree that they had experienced anxiety disorder in midst of a pandemic for almost every day. Meanwhile, none of the students stated that they did not feel any anxiety during the pandemic. So our survey results show that the most problem they face or the most anxiety they face during a pandemic is nervousness. Nearly half of respondents with an average of 43.4% agreed that they face nervousness during COVID-19. Meanwhile, only 3 students with a percentage of 5.7% disagreed. Furthermore, the results show the rarest or the least problem or the least anxiety that they face is having difficult eating. So the percentage indicates only 22 students with an average of 22.6% having difficulty eating during the pandemic. So if any of the above problem were identified, how difficult have this made it for you to do your work, study, take care of things at home, and get along with other people? So generally, 39.7% student answer will find it slightly difficult to do those activities such as work, study, and take care of things at home if they face any obstacle or anxiety during pandemic. Furthermore, there is an equivalent percentage of those who answer difficult and very difficult to do activities if any problems or if any anxiety were faced by them. So the percentage show an average of 25.4 respectively for a student who answered difficult and very difficult. In conclusion, we can see that students are suffering to do any activities during this pandemic. That's all for me. Moving forward to the conclusion part for this presentation.
Assalamualaikum. So at the last, there are a few brief significant points used to conclude all ideas. First, the increase, few graphs shows the increase on the reader numbers, and it is triggered also by the increase of the news existence regarding COVID-19. Then psychologically, it also affects people when all news build anxious and upset, or even depression for the people. There are two main aspects that can be used here. First, obstacles, and the second one is effects. So on the conclusion, first on the obstacle, the increase of fake news among the people is increasing a lot, because the second reason is the lack of reliable and actual sources. So sometimes it is hard for people to observe the real news and also to choose whether this the fake or the real news. And it affects also failure to filter, understand the news. And second one effects is many of students become nervous because of that, worry, anxiety, and this all problem lead to sleeping and eating disorder, perhaps, and also for the last suffer in doing their activities. That's all for the conclusion part.
Okay, thank you so much. That's all for us. That's all from us. Hopefully this is will be benefit for you guys and Madam also. Thank you so much for the all team members to participate this project. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.